keynote speaker, Frank Veri. He's on the board of advisors for the Artis, and I met this gentleman about a couple years ago. I had no idea that many years ago, I will let him tell you the story, that he suffered a traumatic brain injury. And he has been an incredible supporter and help with this issue, with all the issues. And his speech tonight will speak for itself, so I have no words for it. I'll give it up to Frank Veri, everyone.
Oh, boy. Good evening. This is my second time on a podium, so I just got to get used to you a little bit the way you're getting used to me right now. Well, like Ivy said, yeah, she never would have known that I had suffered a traumatic brain injury. In fact, exactly 36 years to the date tomorrow, I fell from a scaffold, broke my collarbone, fractured my skull to the extent that it tore my eardrum, and caused me to drift in and out of coma for 7 days. Then I was told that I had suffered bilateral brain damage. And so, but I'm not here to describe the full upheaval, devastation, turmoil I experienced, and mind you, it was considerable, but we're not going to discuss that this evening. My hope is that most of you, if not all of you, will be able to relate to it from your own experiences. In 1982, I was 4 months from my 22nd birthday, married to my high school sweetheart, and working as a tool and die maker. After my injury, I experienced a roller coaster of emotional and irrational thought episodes. I would often have visions of myself in a cage, huddled in the corner. During those early years, I was analyzed by an impressive number of medical doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers. They were all there. And then eventually came the time that my prognosis was to be shared with myself and my wife. This is what we were told. I will never be the person I was prior to the accident. Due to my lack of concentration and focus, I could not return to my tool and die profession, and that I should start accepting the fact that I will be cognitively retarded for the rest of my life. I don't remember what I said, if I had said anything at all, but I do remember thinking, yeah, no way am I going to be retarded for the rest of my life. I experienced some deep hopelessness, but I never accepted that prognosis. In group sessions with other ABI clients, I was shocked to discover the group focus was on becoming comfortable with our limitations. In conversations with other group members, I found an expressed belief that acceptance of their limitations was the only way to go forward for them. This acceptance of the situation made me defiant. I would never accept and become comfortable with my new limitations. I needed to find a way out of my mental prison and irrational episodes. I needed to get better, even if I didn't know what better meant or even where to start. By chance, a TV Ontario documentary aired on television about Northern Quebec nuns. These nuns had a remarkable ability to live to a ripe old age without suffering from dementia. Instinctively, I knew this was a program I needed to watch. By the end of the documentary, the researchers were convinced the onset of dementia was avoided because the nuns spent all of their free time solving crossword and math puzzles. From that moment on, I would buy a math puzzle and a crossword puzzle booklet every week. Even though the booklets were basic, I had an extremely difficult time completing them. Still, I never gave up. It was my mission to answer all questions correctly. I also read every book and magazine I could, and I watched educational television exclusively. I never considered my inability to conquer a math or crossword problem a failure. I only saw it as a challenge. Failure I didn't even know the word. It was just a challenge. And not succeeding at a challenge is not failing. Failing only happens when you give up and never attempt it again. Failure only happens when all attempts are stopped and the challenge is never revisited again. An amazing thing began to happen. I could correctly answer similar math puzzles with less difficulty. The result was less dramatic with the crossword puzzles, but I did notice an improvement. A few years later, I decided to attend college. I had absolutely no illusion of graduating. My sole purpose was to expose myself to challenging material to stimulate my mind. Despite my cognitive disabilities, I graduated with a certificate in marketing. So I was still unsatisfied with my development. I decided to enroll into university as a mature student. And I cried uncontrollably on my friend's shoulder, exclaiming that I was too dumb to succeed when I learned I had failed the first semester. He assured me that it wasn't my fault and suggested that I lower my full course load and try it again. I did, and ended up succeeding in completing 3 of the 4-year curriculum. Immediately after university, my wife and I divorced. 2 of my 4 children came to live with me, and even though I was better educated, I was unemployed, and I was still struggling cognitively. Unable to secure employment, I went on welfare to provide for myself and my family. A year later, despite many employment interviews, I began to question if I was really employable. Maybe there was something wrong with me that others could see, but I just couldn't. Then, as if by some miracle, I received a call from an old college friend. He heard his company was hiring technical people. I jumped on the opportunity and was hired as a computer assistance operator. Fast forwarding to today, I can say with mixed emotions that the prognosis that was given to me those many years ago got 2 out of the 3 points correct. The person that was born and raised to the age of 21 as Frank Veri no longer exists. My ability to focus and concentrate has greatly diminished. But thanks to the neuro-plasticity of the brain, I am cognitively functioning at a reasonably normal level. I have essentially rewired my brain, which, as I understand it, is exactly what the science of neuroplasticity is all about. Of course, I didn't manage it all alone. It literally takes a village to raise a brain-injured individual, just like it takes a village to raise a child through stimulus, guidance, and behavioral correction. To me, neuroplasticity of the brain is the real thing. When I started my journey 36 years ago, the term neuroplasticity was unknown to me. All I knew was that I needed to free my mind, and mental stimulation was the way to do it. What I found is that recovery from ABI boils down to the individual, and that determination is the key. Neuroplasticity on its own makes a difference, but the true value it has to offer can only be realized through consistent, determined, and stubborn effort. The more effort put into stimulating the brain, the greater the neuroplasticity response. It's that simple. To give you a sense of the determination and stubbornness required, I destroyed my first marriage, lost my home in the divorce, and lived on welfare with 2 children, all in the name of getting better. I never once gave in to the temptation to stop, even when it threatened my marriage, my home, and my financial stability. The path is not an easy one. The distance is considerable, but the destination is reachable. One of the most important things I realized is that time moves on, whether I choose to move with it or not. I could have spent my time getting old, or I could have spent my time getting better. I chose to get better. Again, the path is not easy, and the distance is considerable, but the destination is reachable. How can I be so positive that neuroplasticity works? Yeah? Because as a traumatic brain injury survivor, I am successfully employed at the moment as a software quality assurance engineer. I have completed a book on how to properly start an online business. I successfully raised my children. I remarried. I attained my real estate license and scuba diving certificate. I became a master mason and eventually master of my lodge. I have written several well-received articles for the Artis magazine. I'm putting the finishing touches on my new website. And finally, I'm standing on this stage presenting the virtues of embracing neuroplasticity as the path to recovery after a brain injury.
Well done.
Thank you so much. That was Frank Veri. One more time. That was very, very good. Couldn't miss it. Truly. And just to put a little bit of it in context, if I know this correctly, the term neuro-plasticity was formed in 1998, and Frank Veri started to do this on his own in 1985. And that says a lot. And you see him standing before you today. I will now introduce our second feature